Member for West Vancouver Capilano.
Mr. Speaker, we all know that the Premier flipped his Victoria condo for a profit, right before he'd be hit with having to declare a speculation tax. What the public hasn't been told is this wasn't just any condo. It was a building known as the Juliet, a building with non-conforming use exceptions for Airbnb. Now listen to this quote from the building's own literature. "We have an on-site B&B management company to handle your bookings," end quote. So while people struggle to make ends meet, the Premier exploited the housing crisis to make a quick buck. So, Mr. Speaker, can the Premier please tell us how much he personally profited from selling his condo as an Airbnb opportunity?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. And this session, we have a new party that asks questions that are completely over the top, and now we have a BC United Party that says, "Hold my cup," Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, we are in a housing crisis, and we are in a housing crisis, and the steps we've taken when it comes to addressing short-term rentals and having them in our primary residence is an important step. In fact, it's being applauded across the country. We've had other provinces that have reached out and said, "Can we talk about this legislation? Can we talk about how we can work with you and learn from some of the things that we've done to ensure that they can also use tools like this to help address the challenges that they're facing?" This is not just a BC challenge, it's a North American challenge. So the steps we've taken is about making sure that the housing stock we have is available to the people of British Columbia who are desperately needing it. Honourable Speaker, we will always be on the side of the people of British Columbia, not just those who are looking to make money off of investments.
Member for West Vancouver Capilano, supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, it should concern us all that this minister doesn't understand that these questions are completely relevant right now. While the NDP continues to hunt for housing scapegoats, the Premier himself personally capitalized on an opportunity to profit from the explosion of short-term rentals under his watch. I have the very listing when he sold his Juliet condo. In a building named Juliet, the Premier found not star-crossed love, but a lucrative Airbnb opportunity that earned him a $150,000 profit. He marketed the property in the advertising with a clear tagline, and I quote, "unrestricted rentals," end quote. So why the blatant double standard? One rule for him and another for everyone else. Yeah.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Again, Honourable Speaker, we are in a housing crisis right now. We have people that are living in RVs, working full-time jobs that can't find a place to live, Honourable Speaker. That's why it was so important for us to put forward the legislation around short-term rentals. But it's not only these measures, Honourable Speaker. We're making historic investments in building actual affordable housing for people, which was not done in this province for far too long. There was a time, not too long ago, where there was a housing minister from the opposite side, this other party that is raising questions now, who said, if you can't afford it, just leave. Just go somewhere else, Honourable Speaker. That's why we are in the challenge we are now. This was not an issue that wasn't important to them. I appreciate now that they think this is an important issue, and I hope they will provide some positive ways for us to be able to address the housing crisis. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. Addressing short-term rentals, addressing the challenges in our housing crisis, investing in housing that's critically needed across British Columbia.
Member, second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As this minister admits, we are in a housing crisis, which makes this behaviour even more egregious. This NDP government had the chance in 2018 to implement common sense rules for short term, but they chose not to do it at that time. Instead, the Premier's Juliet condo listing boasts of, quote, unrestricted rentals and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook your private green space, 200-square-foot patio with gas barbecue hookup, and a concierge to manage your B&B short-term vacation rentals. So what really gets people's is this NDP housing hypocrisy. They do nothing. The Premier personally profits, and now they are hunting for scapegoats for their failures in housing. So how can the Premier possibly defend this hypocrisy of cashing in with his Airbnb condo flip?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. There's a trend that happens in this place, Honourable Speaker. There's a new trend that's happening in this place. And this trend is the opposition supports us on legislation until they hear the BC Conservatives are against it. Honourable Speaker, when they hear the BC Conservatives are against something, then all of a sudden they are against it as well, Honourable Speaker. This is a trend.
Members, Minister has the floor. Member. That's enough, members. Minister has the floor.
Honourable Speaker, this is a trend that we're seeing with all legislation. And so now I understand what's happening here. The BC Conservatives decide they're going to vote against it, and now they're looking for an excuse to vote against it as well, Honourable Speaker. Well, Honourable Speaker, we're going to continue to do what we believe is the right thing, which is finding ways for the housing stock, the valuable housing stock that we have, make sure that housing stock is available for the people of British Columbia.